All right, today we're going to talk about the maybe unintended consequences of marijuana arrest and prosecuting marijuana possessors. And this is, an all-time high in this country. I mean, we arrest over 800,000 people a year for marijuana alone, and over 90% of those arrests are for simple possession, not for dealing, not for cultivation, not for distributing, not for any of that, just for simple possession, just having a little bit on your person. So the overall problem that I see is that, they neglect what the aftermath is for these people, these young people typically, from the ages of 15 to 21 years old. A lot of these are the demographic. Most of these are the demographic of arrests for marijuana. And what happens here is, and I'll go to this website here, it's marijuana-arrest.com, and you can read this, Consiquences of Arrest. And this isn't all of it. I mean, I've had other consequences in my own life after being arrested for simple possession, and that's all I've ever been arrested for in regards to marijuana. Simple possession is the only thing. Never dealing or distributing, and I've never been arrested for any other drugs or anything else. No alcohol, no DUI, nothing like that. Just simple possession. So I'll tell you about my consequences that I've faced, but here's this right here. This is one of the most harmful consequences of arrest for marijuana possession and other minor offenses. 20 years ago, misdemeanor arrest and conviction records were papers kept in court storerooms and warehouses, often impossible to locate. 10 years ago, they were computerized. Now they are instantly searchable on the internet for $20 to $40 through commercial and criminal record database services. A simple Google search for the phrase criminal database and criminal records produces numerous links to firms, some claiming that their searches are better than others. Some offer 50-state searches for as low as $12.95, like the one above. Employers, landlords, credit agencies, licensing boards for nurses and beauticians, schools, and banks now routinely search these databases for background checks on applicants. A simple arrest for marijuana possession can show up on criminal database as a drug arrest without specifying the substance, the charge, or even the person, or if the person was convicted. Employers and landlords faced with an abundance of applicants often eliminate those with criminal arrest records, especially for drugs. Nurses, security guards, and other licensed by the state can lose their licenses and their job from just one misdemeanor marijuana arrest. So this is a major issue. I'm not going to go on to the rest of that. You can read it for yourself if you like. But, this is a major issue for people. What happens when a person, goes to jail for marijuana, spends, sometimes it's as little as 30 days. Sometimes, in my case, I spent almost 8 months in jail for marijuana possession. That was it, just possession. They get two offenses. They get typically possession of marijuana, and for the pipe, they get possession of paraphernalia. Two misdemeanors. So they can serve, 30 to 60 days for each offense, and depending on, how many times you've been arrested, you can serve a lot more time. So then they, meet these criminals that are in jail for whatever reason, some for meth, some for heroin, some for robbery, some for burglary, some for, other kind of rackets. And then they make friends. They're in jail with with these people for long enough. They eat, sleep, and drink, every day with these people, and they know who they are, intimately. And when they get out, they have friends that are criminals, and so then they go try to get a job, and they get a rejection, and then they get another rejection. They get another rejection, and they're pretty confident that they can do the job, and they're applying for jobs they can do, but they keep getting rejected because of their drug arrest record for simple possession of a plant that grows out of the ground like God intended and kills 0 people. There is no lethal dose for marijuana. Aspirin kills 7,500 people in the United States, and marijuana kills 0 people. That's according to the government. That's at Center for Disease Control, or if you go to www.cdc.gov, you'll find these statistics. But marijuana is one of the main crimes people get arrested for in this country, and one of the main things people are serving time in jail for in this country. While the police are neglecting other crimes, they're going after marijuana because it's profitable. They get federal grants for regulating marijuana arrests, and they get, the more arrests, the more money they get. And they get civil asset forfeiture items from people like cars and houses when they arrest people for marijuana. And they make the drug dealers, the people who are selling marijuana, repay for the court costs and things like that. And so that fuels the fire for marijuana arrests in this country. But let's look at what Springville is saying. I think that it's absolutely deceptive and wrong what they say. If you look at this graph right here, look at what they list: alcohol, marijuana, inhalants, hallucinogens, cocaine, meth, and heroin. Now they did this study by asking kids about their illegal activity. They're saying, hey, do you do this? Do you do that? These are official people going into a school asking kids who are, Mormon, and, you can't even drink coffee in the Mormon church. It's an outlawed product, but they're asking them about more serious substances, such as, all these illegal things. And the kids are saying, no, I don't use that. Well, of course they're saying, no, they don't use that. They're not going to incriminate themselves. Who's going to trust the government or an adult when you're a kid in a state like Utah to keep your information confidential? It's just not going to happen. These statistics are absolutely wrong. And if you look at their website on what these statistics came from, you'll see what the criteria was and how they took the test. They basically said, hey kids, we're not going to tell anybody as long as you will tell us what's going on in your life. We won't say anything to anybody. And then the kids are supposed to answer a survey, and the survey is supposed to generate these results. Well, these results are not accurate, to say the least. But I'm just going to go ahead and play the whole video here for you so you can, and I'll itemize a few things as we go, just so you can see what I find the problem being.
The thing I've heard about the drug abuse in Springville is that Springville's the drug capital of Utah.
I've just heard that heroin is the big thing here in Springville.
The perception in Springville has been a long-going thing that drug and alcohol use is higher than other communities.
I heard somebody one time make the comment that Springville had one of the worst drug problems in the country.
That took me back. I was pretty shocked,
We don't live in a Leave It to Beaver world anymore. There are people who think that there are no drugs here, and that's just not so. There are other people who think that drugs here are horrible and they're worse than anywhere else in the country. That's also not true.
Springville is not higher than the state, and at the same time, they are lower in many areas than the rest of the county.
Now, Mr. Pat Bird is telling a big fib here. He, goes on record in the Springville City Council meeting of March 18th, 2008, and says something absolutely contradictory. So, if you look at this right here, it's on the Springville website, springville.org, and this is the link right here, and I've also got it on springvilleonline.com. You can find a few posts where I've referenced this. This video that I'm showing you was made in 2010, and this meeting that I'm showing you took place in 2008, so there's not a lot of difference in time between the two. So here we go right here. Mr. Bird presented statistics from 8th, 10th, and 12th graders in 2005 and 2007. He reported that the survey was anonymous and compares Springville with the rest of the county and the state of Utah. He pointed out huge reductions from 2005 to 2007 in Springville and lower rates of reported use in Utah County in general and the state of Utah. The sample size is 149 students from Springville High and 159 students from Springville Junior High. Colonel Strong asked about the statistical sample. Mr. Bird reported that the survey was performed by an independent firm and students were randomly chosen through a computer program. About 5% of the sample was thrown out with an honesty question. Students had parents' authorization to be included. Colonel Jolly commented that he can see two real issues. One is that prescription drugs are higher than the state and county averages by 0.7%. Mr. Bird, who just got done saying that Springville is not higher than the rest of the county or the state, but here's Mr. Bird disagreeing with himself here in 2008. Mr. Bird agreed. Lieutenant Caron agreed that the incident has increased over the years. He has seen a steady increase. Colonel Jolly observed that the prescription drugs are not seen as dirty drugs in the DARE program. Lieutenant Karn commented that these drugs come from doctors. Parents make them accessible to their children. Mr. Bird observed that the need is to change attitudes. Adults have learned to ask for drugs by name from advertising. He emphasized that Springville's incident is less than 10%. The amount is half the rates of the nation. Actually, that's not true either, because you can look over and over and over again. If you just type in Google, you type in Utah #1 for prescription abuse, you will find Deseret News articles, you'll find CBS articles that show that Utah doubles the national average for prescription drug abuse. So, these statements are constantly contradictory with the Springville, officials, but more so, from particularly Mr. Bird here. He is absolutely contradicting himself. What he just said and what he's about to say in the future of this is absolutely, in my consideration, a big fat fib. What else can I say?
Higher than the state, and at the same time, they are lower in many areas than the rest of the county. They do have areas they can work on, like any community.
We work closely with the schools in prevention. We have officers for years have worked in the schools. We go out and we actively pursued drug dealers. One of the things that we did here is we put together a book. We took the people that we knew were using drugs and dealing drugs, and we put their name and their address, the car they drove, we took their pictures in there. The word got out, and a lot of these people who were dealing drugs were worried that their name might be in the book. And they didn't want to come to Springville, they didn't want to be pulled over in Springville because they were worried that we'd know exactly what drugs they used, what car they were, who they were, and all that. We empower our young officers to go out and get after it, to get out there and develop the information and to get search warrants. We take a no-nonsense, zero...
So, see, they're using paramilitary forces to break down people's doors and, raid their house and shoot their dogs and, offend their family with weapons in their face for simple drugs. They're not doing this over prescription drugs, yet prescription drugs kill more people in Utah than anything else. Anything. More than car accidents, more than, murder, more than anything. Prescription drugs are killing more people in Utah than anything else. And like I said, marijuana kills 0 people. 0 people in the entire world, because there's no lethal dose for marijuana. It grows out of the ground naturally, like God intended. And, just recently in Ogden, they busted in a guy's house and he had marijuana, they suspected. They busted in his house and he wasn't sure what was going on, so he picked up a golf club and they shot him like 6 times and killed him. This happens all the time. So they're killing people in their house for marijuana. And, marijuana doesn't kill anybody by itself, but it's the prohibition of marijuana that kills people. It's the police using paramilitary tactics like this that kills people, that hurts people. So it's not drugs that are dangerous, it's the police that are dangerous.
Tolerance sort of an attitude. Overall, compared to the state, Springville High and Springville Junior High are much lower than the state averages, and the survey proves that with statistics.
In looking specifically at Springville 12th graders, we found the incident.
Now this is hilarious. Look at this. So they've got alcohol, marijuana, inhalants, hallucinogens, cocaine, meth, heroin. Where's prescriptions? They don't have them on there. You can get real data for prescriptions because drug companies release factual data on how many prescriptions are being bought and sold and stuff. But with these statistics, they're depending on 12th graders to admit to an official what their illegal activity is. These are kids trying to trust adults with what their illegal activity is on a survey. They're not going to answer these questions truthfully. Trust me. Springville has a bigger problem than they'll admit to.
Use of illegal drugs was lower in every category.
Springville today is a better place because we have such close working relationships with groups like Nebo School District, with PTAs, and with the youth programs, and with the various neighborhoods, neighborhood watch groups. We are a much better place today because of those things.
Springville's been more proactive, and that is because of the city council getting involved. That's because of the citizens getting involved, and that's because of YouthNet getting involved.
I would say that Springville is one of the safest cities that you can live in.
I've lived in several different places, and this is by far my favorite.
I'm thrilled that I moved here with my kids and my grandchildren live here now.
Springville's a wonderful place to raise a family. I've got 2 teenage kids, a 6-year-old daughter also, and we enjoy Springville. Feel very safe in the community.
I worked in California for a number of years, and then I chose to bring my family to Springville. And the reason I did that is because of the quality of life here is so much better.
So I think that, they need to start being more honest. In that whole video, they didn't mention prescription drugs once, did they? Did anybody else see that? Did I miss something? No. They didn't mention it at all. And then they're claiming that Springville doesn't have a very bad problem with drugs, and, they're just so safe in Springville and so wonderful. Sorry. Now, right here, Mayor Magnum asked why Springville is worse in the state for prescription drugs. Lieutenant Karam pointed out that Springville's rates are statistically insignificant, although there's more of a problem now than in the past.